Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have another interesting video. This time working on a 2002 Ford Lightning. It's a Ford F-150 Lightning. This was sent to me by Stanley from California, I think. Let me see. Yeah, San Jose, California. His concern is he has a DTC P0402 that he cannot get rid of. He has a P01,000 or P1000, sorry, which is, monitors not completed or erased or so. But so I'm focusing myself on the P0402, which is the EGR feedback or fault code. I have all the information I'm going to show you in a second. Just want to get the introduction for the video. So as you see, I have it connected over to the bench, and I have the scanner connected. He didn't send me the bean, but obviously, as soon as I connect it here, we will be able to see the beans, and he will be able to see his bean right there. So let's digit CA66349. Funny, it says CA, but yeah. All right, so firewall reference is good. Pins that I need, let me just hold this 1 second. Well, actually, let me read his notes. It says, Hi Mike, I talked to you on Monday regarding my 2002 Ford F-150 5.4 SVT Lightning truck, approximately 79,000 miles, so very beautiful truck. DTC 40, sorry, 40402. He has a P0500 BSS circuit, and that is in the instrument cluster. And some other codes that are not really considered in here. I'm going to show you the picture of those two as well. So let me get into his folder so I can open that picture because I forgot about that one to get it ready for us. And let me lower this. I'm sorry I'm keeping you in there, but all right, so these are the full codes that he's getting. This is a picture he sent me. We got the P1000. I think it's because he's been erasing full codes and the full code that he's trying to correct that he cannot get rid of the P0402. Again, if we see here, the P0500 is not in the PCM, it's in the generic electronic module, which is the instrument cluster that's a Ford calls it on these models, and all these are there. And this is on the ABS, which again has nothing to do with the PCM, or I don't have those modules here. But yeah, so all right, so for the test that I'm doing, I need these are the pins. Pin 47 is the EGR vacuum ground control. 90 is a 5-volt reference, and also for the DPF and the throttle position sensor. Pin 65 is the DPF signal, and then pin 91 is ground for the sensors. This is a 104 pin computer, so it's a one big connector. All right, so let me just go over to the information 1 second, which I have everything ready to go. All right, so this is the way the connector looks as I have put the check marks on the signals that I'm using for this test, even though I have the computer completely powered up and talking to the scanner, as you see here. But these are the important signals. So I want to read a little bit on the description here so we understand what the P0402 comes on. It says the differential pressure feedback EGR sensor upstream hose is tested once per dry cycle for disconnect and plug in. The test is performed with the EGR valve closed, and during a period of acceleration, the PCM will momentarily command the EGR valve closed to monitor, or the monitor looks for a differential pressure feedback. So very important, the DPFE sensor on these because the EGR is just being command open and close. Sensor voltage to be inconsistent for a no flow voltage. A voltage increase or decrease during an acceleration while the EGR valve is closed might indicate a fault in the signal host during this test. All right, so we have sensor that can be the problem or solenoid, because if we go over to the diagrams, we have an EGR solenoid that is the one that is going to at the end, sorry, open the EGR valve, which is not, it has no position sensors or nothing. It's just an old style valve that opens and closes a port, right? So this is, and you will see if you want in the web, you can find on YouTube a lot of guys, they just remove the filter on the top and they cover it, and that opens and closes the valve without doing any electronic tests. Um, Then on the next page, I hope that you like what I did. I prepared all this in here, and we can see this solenoid is control on pin 47 by a ground control. The rest, obviously, it will be power. That is the EGR solenoid on the DPF sensor, DPFE sensor, right? So we have a voltage 5-volt reference on pin 90. We have an is shared to with the TPS. This is very important. It's a splice in here, so it might be other sensors in there, but I'm looking for what I need to check here. And then we have a sensor ground, because if we follow this wire right here, it comes into 91, which is the signal return ground. And then the signal on pin 65, as I explained on the pins that I put right there for you guys. So the same thing, we have possible causes, EGR, stock, blah, 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 blah. So many different things. And then at the end, damage PCM. So we're trying to decipher if this is a PCM or not. So this is very important. This is a good information that I want to share. You can see if you have a problem with the DPF sensor very easily. If with the ignition on and engine off, you have anything but 4 to 6 volts, it should be exactly 5 volts. Um, then you have a problem. But what they're saying, disconnecting the sensor, right? So this is very important. Key on, engine off, access the DPF-E pit, disconnect the sensor with the key on, engine off. It should read 5 volts, and we can see that here. So what I have right now is this is pin 65. So this is the DPF signal sensor, and I have a multimeter connected to the other two pins, which is 90 and 91. As you see right here, that just goes over to my multimeter. So the fiber reference and sensor ground is good. I'm checking for the DPF signal, and I can change that here. Hope you guys can see that is going to almost 5 volts or so, right? And I can bring it down to, because I'm, supplying that power in there. But as the data here is telling us, if I unplug this should go up to 5 volts, and that is exactly what is happening. So how is the circuit of the DPF sensor? Is intact, so there is no problems in there. So the next thing that we need to do is check the actual EGR solenoid, which I have a test slide, and I have my oscilloscope connected so we can see activation. So right now I'm supplying a power through a fuse, right, through my solenoid, and then through a test light. So we should see on the oscilloscope battery voltage, and we do. So the voltage is going through the filament of this bulb through the computer, and the scanner can see that, or my oscilloscope, because I'm actually right here connected on that other side. So that's telling me that this bulb is good. One thing that you can know, or I can do here, is if I turn this off, I can see that that is commanded and on. And this is only happening here because the computer is losing, let's say, the ignition, which you in a constant power. So this is not normal. You will not be able to do this in the car unless you cut the keep alive power. But I can do it. This is part of my test. So, and I can see that that is completely ground. So it's a little telling me that the circuit is intact as well, because if I can just by doing this, that means the computer is able through that driver or pre-driver. I have not really seen the entire picture inside the computer on how the circuitry is, but I can also reproduce his concern, and this is what I want to go next. So yes, we can go over to activations. So let me go. Oh, cancel. I almost exit this here. So we only have two faults. I don't have the P0402 here. It doesn't mean that that is not really happening. I want you to see that I can reconnect. I just turn all the power off, including for the scanners, and that's what we need to reconnect. So give me just 1 second. So I'm going to read the fault codes, retrieve fault, store or continuous memory faults. We don't have that one, so I wanted to show that. We're going to go over to actuation tests in the EGR duty cycle. So that's the solenoid for that one. I can I can add data stream, which I will. I'm going to remove this one because that's no good for that. So we want Let me see, what is that one? No, should be in the east. Yeah, do the cycle. Um, System evaluated, we don't need that. System test ready. Well, let's see that. Vacuum regulator full. Let me see that. Because we can see all that. There is a lot of piece for that. Exhaust gas recirculation and status. Let's select all this. It says there is no error. The system is not ready. The system not evaluated, and there is no error on the gas recirculation status. We can see that I have 0.47 on there. I'm going to change that voltage again, and we can see right now I put them into 2.5. All right, so we can increase the pulse width, and this is what I want to show you here. Because when the computer is off, that gets down to like around 3.7 volts. That is normal. That is it's not a fully ground because of the circuit that is designed to pull a solenoid is a pulse width, and that's okay. So, but if I start increasing in here, as soon as I put this into, let me make sure I can. It's not doing it. Come on. Yeah, sometimes this does this, so I'm gonna have to re-enter it again. I think it's a timeout. If you don't activate it, it just deactivates the. I think I can just click OK, and that will be there. So let me see if I can now increase it. Come on. Oh yes, now it's 10%, and nothing is happening in the tab. Okay, as soon as I reach 20%, we can see something already on the signal. Let me go back to 10. 10, almost nothing because it's, like nothing happening. 20%, it says EGR gas recirculation short circuit. All right, so this is something I didn't see before. I'm going on to 40%. So I had two things that can be happening. Is one, the computer is not liking this test lamp that I'm using. The resistance is not correct, or we have a problem on the actual driver. Um, I think that even if we have a short circuit, because it's funny that it's not showing any errors, and I'm still being able to get it to 60%, and I can see that happening in both, like do the cycle and percentage. So I don't know why it's two bits like that, but if I go up to 60, 70, 80, 90, everything is there, but nothing is changing in here. I don't like this, and there is actually a fault in there. So I'm gonna have to come up with like either something that is like a coil, and I think I have something that I can might be able to use. So let me rewire this because the circuit is meant to have a vacuum solenoid that will be pulsing, kind of like almost like a relay, and this is not what we have here. So I can put that onto one of my injector drivers, and I can probably do that here. So give me 1 second. You see, that's actually what it was happening. So we have now a different error. You see, it says open circuit. But I can see now on my oscilloscope being able to completely pull it to ground. So right now, even at 20%, that is being command almost fully. There's no more pulse width. Let me change the time base in here. So yes, what we have here is I'm going to need, because I can see, you see now injector 6, and this is exactly what now I have connected through this yellow wire, that same EGR valve. So, and now in a start to show show us a short circuit, we have now an open circuit, and it's 60%. So, but we can see if I go down to, let's say 0, let's see where the voltage is in there, and to like 355. As soon as I go down to like, let's say, 10 or 0, this should, and it goes up. You see right there. So I'm in 0. 10% is still like nothing because it's not being commanded. As soon as I go to 20%, it pulls it down. And then when I go down to 10 or so, it's open. I mean, it's open again, battery voltage. So, I think I'm gonna have to get a solenoid to actually test this properly. Because right now I can see the computer in complete control of that solenoid circuit. Again, that valve, or sorry, the test light that I was using is not the correct load to do the test, and neither is this. But we can see that if I use that, is because this is like an injector coil, so this is what that simulator has, and I'm using injector 6, is doing it right. So let me see if I have something, because I do have an EGR pit. Let me see if I can use that one. Yeah, no, I'm using, you see right now it says EGR. It's kind of probably the same type of coil inside, because as soon as I reach 20, it gets into fully pulled down. And then when it's in 10, it's releasing it. So we need to have that specific solenoid. So I'm going to have to see what I can do here. Either get into an Allison or something and get that EGR solenoid valve, or tell the customer to send it to me in order to properly test this. Again, I don't see so far nothing that I can condemn this computer. As I mentioned before, when I turn this off and I'm able to completely fully ground, pull to ground the circuit, that's telling me that the circuit integrity is intact. And now that I have actually, I'm able to see short to power, or sorry, short to ground in open circuit, that's telling me also the diagnostic part, the logic part of the computer is there. The command is also there. As soon as I go into over 20%, I'm going to have to reestablish communication, because I just turned the switch off, and that's what is happening. I'm going to have to go back from here. All right, so we can do this again. I'm not going to select any repeats because we don't really need to. I can just go up to 20%. We can see that in there immediately pulling down, the light coming out right there. If we go down to 10% or less, we can see how it's being now disconnected, and the EGR light goes off. So yes, the computer is in control. I need to have the valve so I know if the computer is indeed able to pull it to ground as it's supposed to, because I can see that in the oscilloscope, and this is why I always recommend anyone that is doing a testing here, yeah, multimeter can help you. This is not a fast signal, and an oscilloscope, you know where you're looking at. Everything is perfect, and you can bi-directional control and do the activations and then see. Because if we go back to the description, we know what the computer is looking for. So if you want to again revisit that information that I put in there, which is very important, then you can fully test this in your vehicle. So hey guys, okay, so I went to get the EGR vacuum solenoid. This is from Advanced Auto. I have actually a connector to make sure I'm connected properly, even though this is a solenoid that has just powers and grounds. I don't think it's going to matter polarity, but I want to always to be sure that I'm connected as it's supposed to. So this is connector C1072. As you can see, it says EGR vacuum regulator solenoid. If we go over to the diagram, which I still have here open, and we see here the connector is C1072. So that's a specific for that vehicle, is exactly the pinouts. So everything is there ready. I want to read again the description of what these do. It will set the fault. So the differential pressure feedback EGR sensor upstream hose is tested once per drive cycle for disconnect and plug-in. The test is performed with the EGR valve closed, and during a period of acceleration, the PCM will momentarily command the EGR valve closed. Remember, it's no position sensor in this EGL. So how is the computer knows if it's actually flow or not? So it monitors the the monitor looks for the differential pressure feedback, again the DPFE sensor, EGR sensor voltage to be inconsistent for a no flow voltage. A voltage increase or decrease during that acceleration when the computer is commanded that, it will show that the EGR valve is closed while the EGR is closed, because it's being commanded closed. may indicate a fault in with the signal host during this test. So is it either flow or is a problem with the EGR, sorry, the DPFE sensor. So we have an open hose. We got the passage that is obstructed. Talking to Stanley, he told me that he can stall the car by commanding the EGR valve on. So, but let's do the test now that we got the correct valve and see the response from the computer. Things that I want to do is I want to restart the communication so I can show you and him that this is indeed his computer. All right, so power on. We got sensor and ground, sensor ground and sensor power active and working good. I'm going to do an auto scan. This is a 2002 Ford, so it should be no problem with that. I have now that I connected before to the computer, the big number should be the last digit CA, C as in Carlos, A as in Apple, 66349. Okay, that's a good sign. CA66349. So that's his computer. We are indeed with good communication. We're going to go into quick access. This is going to go through different prompts, strict ignition on, and etc. Normal of a scanner. Um, Questions. Another thing that I want to address is also I'm using an attenuated lead or an attenuator of 20 to 1 into my channel A because this picoscope, this is the 6704D. This is a very capable bench oscilloscope, but it's only for 20 volts. So since it's not an automotive one, I'm putting an attenuated lead or attenuator in here to protect for that spike of the valve when it's opening and closing, right? Because that's going to have a spike. All right, so I can pretty much select anything in here, but I'm going to select an unknown fuel. All right, we're going to go into the PCM. We're going to enter. We're going to go straight to the actuations, right, as we were before. I'm going to put the picoscope. Picoscope is still connected and ready to go, so that should be no problem. We're going to go into actuation tests. Just bear with me while this is collecting the data. All right, we're going to go into exhaust gas recirculation valve percentage, do the cycle. That will have no pit, so we need to select data stream as I did before. So we're going to go into the data feedback, which is the DPFE signal, right? So the one I can now move and change as I please. We already checked the 5-volt reference and it goes into 5 volts. I'm sorry, but as a customer sending me texts and that is connected. I'm using the phone for this. So, all right, so we're going to select everything for the EGR. And now this right here, evaluated, status. So all this, because I want you to remember that we have before an arrow. Remember was saying short and then open when I use short when I was using a test light and then open when I was using the simulator, and that's why I went to get this valve, right? Okay, so we're going to try to command it to 10%. Okay, it is happening. All right, so we're going to immediately see that now with the valve, we got a correct command because the computer is happy with what it's seeing. You see, it's no errors at all. All right, so I can definitely see immediately here that we're getting that signal pull to almost completely to ground from battery voltage. Let's set up a measurement. Just, it's not going to be very accurate because remember, uh, what we have here in percentage, it will closely match what is happening in there, but it doesn't mean that 20% in here is a 20% duty cycle perfectly. It's 20% of whatever four commands is, and we don't know that this 20% in this case is 14.33, but that is good. So all I really want to do now is as I am increasing this to see that that number is changing, and it is. So that is good. So the computer is in complete control of that. Nothing is wrong with this computer. I am completely, computer is in complete command of that EGR valve, the EGR solenoid. Now, well, yes, let's call that a valve too, but it's not the actual valve, right? So let's not confuse the EGR solenoid valve, this, with the actual EGR in the port of the exhaust, right? Exhaust and intake, right? Because it's gases from the exhaust that will enter, re-enter for emissions, the intake and get burned. That's what this is all about for emissions. But yeah, the computer is on complete command. Looking at the description of the fault codes, I see absolutely nothing wrong with the computer. Stanley, I don't think is anything wrong. I can also see by checking this DPF pressure sensor signal right now it's in 0.97. I can change that. I'm going to go all the way up to like maybe 4 volts. And I'm injecting that signal. So and we can see that the computer is reading that properly. I'm probably putting like 4 volts, so that's perfect reading. I'm going down to like 1 volt. Just trying to do that quickly, so just bear with me around 1 volt. So and it's happening. The next test, as I did in the beginning of the video, the computer will and for wants you to do is to disconnect this, and this should read zero. I mean 5 volts, and it does. You see immediately as soon as I unplug, let's say the sensor and the computer is on, that should read 5 volts, and it is. As soon as I plug back in and go back to the reading of the DPF sensor, there is no errors. Stanley, again, this is a test, a full test on your computer. There is nothing wrong with this. I'm sorry, but the problem is not here. You have a problem in the car. All right, guys, I hope that you like all this content. You see how much or how far I go trying to help people. I want to spend money. This cost me like $60 to get this test for the customer and give the correct answer, because I don't like to do guesstimates. I like to give complete correct answers on a diagnostics. This is a diagnostics on the computer for a P0402. Yeah, right. Let me just make sure I'm reading that full code correctly too. Yeah, P0402. Nothing wrong with the computer. All right, guys. Thank you so much for visiting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.